Do you love breakdowns? Do you need stats? Do you crave insight? Download the All-Star app. UFC, Bellator, PFL 1 Championship, and more. Ad-free, fully customizable. Download the best app in the business. Link in descriptions. Let's jump into this main event, man. I think a few weeks ago we spoke about it, and you said that Israel was going to be just one step ahead, and he was, man. He was for most of the fight, man. He almost finished the fight in the first round.
What else did I say?
You said that you would be surprised if Pereira got a late knockout finish.
Well, I said Pereira will only win by knockout, and literally that's the only way he could have won, because he can't. Even though Izzy's wrestling was trash, it was really bad. There's a lot of things he was doing wrong. Izzy's wrestling was trash. He was ahead on the scorecards, like striking wise, and like he also he hurt Pereira in the first, stayed ahead because he would mix up the wrestling and the striking, and then dude, Pereira finished him in the fucking last round. I'm like, holy shit, because I thought Izzy had it in the bag, and one thing I did notice is like when Pereira was backing up after the grappling exchanges, he wouldn't throw very much. So it's like Izzy like found like an area where, like, if you get Pereira tired, and one good way to get Pereira tired is through grappling, because he's not used to grappling like that, and then you get him to back up, like, he doesn't strike really well going backwards, whereas Izzy does. So Izzy can strike well going forwards, but he also can strike well going backwards. I think the only thing that was a problem for Izzy was when he knew he was ahead and he was just trying to point fight and he was letting Pereira come forward. That's when Pereira can fucking put your lights away, though. That's the problem. He should have kept pressuring him, kept wrestling him here and there, put him on the cage, and kept Pereira backing up. And I think that was the biggest mistake he made in the later rounds, and didn't capitalize, and kind of was like trying to cruise through the victory as opposed to, like, pushing the pace still. So I think Izzy thought he was going to be slick enough to get by, and I mean, I thought he almost was, but then he just got clipped just enough to where the ref stopped it. So yeah, dude.
Yeah, what do you think about the stoppage though? In a championship fight, man, I think you should let them fight.
He was getting fucked up though. He wasn't returning any fire. If you watch the difference between Pereira and Izzy and Chandler and DP, like, I noticed when I was watching it, DP was catching, slipping, and throwing back and landing, even when he was getting hit and hurt. And like, I think it's really important that you do that when you're in instances like that, because if you're just bobbing and weaving and not intelligently defending yourself and not throwing punches back, it looks worse for the, you know what I mean? It looks worse for the ref, if that makes any sense. It's like if you're like dodging and weaving and fucking like throwing back and like landing, and you're both landing, you're in a good exchange. But if you're not doing much and one guy's fucking peppering you up, and he might throw 10 punches, but he might land like 3, but they might be 3 good enough punches, the ref might stop it. You know what I mean? So I feel like that was a good stoppage, because Izzy wasn't throwing anything back. He looked bad. He looked like he was getting hurt. Maybe he was still there. Maybe he could have got out of it. But the whole point is the ref to keep them from getting knocked out when they're about to get knocked out. But yeah, I feel his pain. I probably feel the same if the same thing happened to me. But yeah.
I have to disagree. I think in a fight like of this magnitude, like, and the amount of money that's on the line, if you win or lose, I feel like you're the champ. They should let you go out. You know what I mean? I think the ref, of course, he's looking out for your well-being, and I want to look out for the fighter's well-being. But man, fighters don't make enough money, dude. They don't make enough money. If Israel was guaranteed all this money, if he lost anyways, I'd be like, all right, man. Like, I guess it was a good stoppage. I'm not gonna fight against the stoppage, but I think
have a flat purse though. I'm sure he has a flat purse.
Nah,
you don't think so?
Very rare.
Really?
In the UFC, very rare in the UFC where guys get flat purses.
I would feel like you would have a flat rate when you became champ.
Oh, is it like that?
I mean, that's how it is with me.
Oh, well,
Bellator, and I would assume like it's a similar structure. It's like, so if you're fighting for well, for me, my contract was I had show win money when I was fighting like as a contender, and then as soon as I fought Gegard, I went to a flat pay, and then when I win, it goes up by a certain amount, and it's still a flat pay. So I'm not sure. Maybe some contracts are like that in the UFC. Maybe not all of them, but it seems to make sense to, if you're like a champ, you should be making flat money. But the bad thing is it's like, let's say I defend the belt 2 times and then I lose, I go back to my old pay, my old structure. But I guess that the way you could get out of that is like after defending the belt 1 time, I renegotiate to where, hey, whenever if something happens to where I do lose, I go back. We should negotiate this pay when I go back to being a contender. But yeah, no, that's interesting. I would want to know that. Wish they were a little bit more transparent about some of the contracts in the UFC and stuff.
Yeah, everybody's different, man. Everybody has like which is weird, right? Which is
all over the place. No one really knows. So it's hard to have like a union. And it's like the guys that are in like the top 5% get paid so well. It's like they don't want to be a part of one. And then it's like, I don't know, dude. It's crazy.
Well, it's also sponsors, I think, as well. If you stay champion, sponsors are going to hang on. You know what I mean? Because I think sponsors only come along fight by fight. So if you're the champ, they're more likely to re-up with you the next fight, defending the belt, you know, stuff like that. That, you know, I look into that as well. But yeah, I'm not like jumping up and down like that's a terrible stoppage, because it was good, but I would like to see them allow them to fight back. But you make good points though. He wasn't throwing back, and he was just weaving and bobbing, which doesn't look good.
He was getting hit, and like he was like, whoa, shit. Like maybe you're still there, but like I know how it is, because in sparring you'll get hit and you'll kind of be like wobble, but you're still there. But it's like intelligently defending yourself is like fighting back as well, or advancing position. So staying on the cage and moving your head and getting hit here and there is not the right thing to do. You either got to clinch up, get the fuck off the cage and like get an open space to where you can move, or fight back. And he was doing none of that, kind of. I mean, I think he at the beginning he was, but then he started getting you start getting more and more punishment, and like that's why I thought it was like a good stoppage. But I see what you're saying. If he's a champ, such a big fight, let him go out on a shield. Don't stop the fight until he's like fucking on the ground. You know, makes sense. Yeah.
Was it the second or third round where Israel like took him down and kind of controlled him?
Izzy or
yeah, Izzy took Pereira
Izzy took him down, I think.
Was it the second or third?
I think it was the third
round, right?
No, Pereira took him down. Pereira's takedown was actually clean.
Yeah, Izzy went from the single to the double, right?
Izzy did like a takedown off of Pereira's pressure, like he did like can't remember exactly, kind of like almost like a lat drop. It was like kind of like a lazy lat drop. Wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible.
Momentum, right? He used momentum.
Yeah, but like the wrestling technique wasn't really like great, but it's like he's an athlete and like he'll make things happen. He has decent body awareness, decent like athleticism, so he can pull some shit up. But there's like some things that I noticed that he was trying to do that he wasn't doing technically correct. Like I
noticed the one off the cage.
What's that?
I noticed that the single leg, the high crotch off the cage, he tried to put the leg in between the leg to lift him up, but he couldn't lift him up.
Yeah, he tried that, didn't work. He was doing a few things wrong. I would have done a couple things differently. Also, when he had Pereira's back, he wasn't really he was doing good, doing pressure forward like a wrestling ride. He was doing that properly. But anytime he would come back and he would try to do like a mat return, I remember he was trying to do like this, like there's like a couple mat returns I do, and like I don't know, he was just doing a couple technical things wrong, and it's why like it didn't look like good when he was trying to like mat return him. Yeah, I mean that's why he's probably just like learning this shit. Like he's learning how to impose his wrestling on people. But yeah, I mean I've been doing that since I was 4.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
and he's been
difference.
striking since probably when he came out the womb, but
Yeah.
he probably could say some shit about my striking shit. You know what I mean? But yeah,
Well,
it's just some of the transitions were sloppy, and I mean, besides that, I mean, I thought it was good that he was like implementing grappling in his game.
it was effective because like Pereira seemed like he didn't know what to do, right?
Especially when he had him on when he had him on his or like referee's position in like a wrestling.
Yeah, yeah. He
He
had the
has him
wrist
on
control.
force. Yeah, had wrist control. Pereira wasn't like rolling his wrist out. Pereira was kind of just sitting there, and then like also notice Izzy like didn't understand like how to pressure his hips in and like fucking start teeing off.
Mhm.
Um, like I think he could have put on more punishment on Pereira there. Also, he like wasn't really putting hooks in. I don't know if you know, well, Glover really good at that, like putting on
Yeah.
hooks and like staying on top of you and like floating on top of you, especially from from mount to like if they roll over, putting hooks like double hooks in and like sprawling your legs down and like punching down. Like Glover's great at that shit. Um, yeah, like I don't know, wasn't super impressed with the grappling level.
When you see that, right? When you saw that round and you're like, Alex Pereira is the champion now, and
Yeah.
your skill set.
Oh, I can't get hit by his left hook. He has a great jab, great left hook, hits hard as fuck. But like, I think my style gives him a lot of problems because I give a lot of pressure. I can wrestle really good. I have a great fucking gas tank. If I'm taking you down, I can keep you down forever. And also, I can get him backing up. And Pereira doesn't fight well backing up. So, yeah, I totally can be. I can totally be Izzy too. Like he had close fights with Marvin Vettori. I'm better than Marvin Vettori though. I have better striking than Marvin Vettori. I'm a way better wrestler than Marvin Vettori. Marvin Vettori's a good fighter too. But like I just noticed how like Izzy has trouble with that type of game. Guys that have constant pressure, guys that can wrestle, mix it up. Yeah, dude, I think I can beat both of them. I think I can beat anybody in the world. I think I'm soon to be best middleweight in the world, and I'm just gonna prove it by beating everybody decisively.
Yeah, stylistically, you know what I mean? Like you always talk to people, you always talk to fighters and coaches. I do, yeah, at least
Mm-hmm.
about like wrestling and striking. And they always tell me wrestling, you can't close the gap against guys that have been wrestling since they were, you know, adolescents. It's hard to do that, and especially if they transition really well into MMA. And
Mm-hmm.
stylistically, that's why most of the time wrestlers are the ones that stay champion and become champion. If you look at the stats, right? And
Yeah.
who was saying that recently? Bubba Jenkins was saying that. Like, look at the
Yeah.
wrestling. Like, even
Yeah.
American. He said he was even comparing American wrestlers to like Russian wrestlers. Look at the stats. Like, who's the
Yeah.
champions?
Well,
American wrestlers.
A lot of Russians that fight are sambo guys.
Yeah.
Usually not. I feel like the Russian wrestlers stay wrestling. It's interesting. I don't notice too many Russian like straight up like like Olympic Russian guys going to MMA. Maybe there's a few, but like not as many as sambo champs. There's so many sambo guys in MMA. But I will say this: it's hard to like catch ground on a guy like me. Like let's say like Izzy's trying to wrestle, trying to get better with his wrestling. It's really hard for him to like develop the skills I have. And same for me when it comes to striking. But the thing is I can mix up my wrestling and my striking to where my striking is more effective. Like Khabib did that. Islam Makhachev does that. Wrestling's a really big equalizer, especially in MMA. And like it literally like utilizing your wrestling can make your striking better because you can get a guy to think you're wrestling and then boom, you're coming up top with punches. Just mixing it up. That's why it's MMA. That's why like you don't have to, being a pure striker in MMA isn't necessarily the best thing. Like I think I'm a perfect case. Like really good wrestling. I'm athletic enough to be picking up the striking. I have good footwork, great cardio, and I mix it up just enough to where like, yeah, you might be a better pure striker than me, but this isn't a kickboxing fight. Like I can take you down. I can fake a takedown, get you thinking like I have to make you think about more variables when I wrestle you. And that's what equalizes the striking playing field for me. So it's like, yeah, you're a better pure striker, but here's my equalizer. Here's a little bit of wrestling. I'm going to throw in the scenario to mix things up in your brain to where you can't predict really what I'm going to do.
You know who was really good at that? Who was a really good wrestler and then developed into like a solid like kickboxer, MMA fighter? Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks.
Yeah.
And before his downfall, right?
But then he started knocking dudes out, and then like he just would strike, and then like also USADA came in the picture. So yeah. No, his striking really came along. But yeah, he had a downfall after USADA, so I'm not quite sure if it was like gear that he was on or like, you know, I don't know, bro.
If he would have mixed it as he went, because man, I thought he was like perfect. In some aspects, he was just perfect. If he would have mixed the wrestling in a little bit more, because GSP had a very hard time against him, right? A lot of people thought he beat GSP in that fight, and
I thought
if he would have mixed the wrestling,
watching that college,
yeah. So. Yeah, it's interesting to see like who in that middleweight division is able to, because it seems like there's no like wrestler except for, you know, the guy that everybody talks about that hasn't even fought yet in the UFC, Bo Nickel.
Yeah, but Bo needs more time, bro. He needs a lot more time. I've trained with him. He's good, don't get me wrong, and he has a lot of potential, but he's so fucking green, man, like so green. He needs to put on more miles in the MMA realm. Like, the motherfucker can grapple. He has the capacity to strike. He just needs more fights, needs more experience. But yeah, I wouldn't throw him in that. If anybody like Chimaev, if he goes up to middleweight, would be the only guy that was like, okay, this motherfucker can grapple and wrestle, and he can strike too. But I don't know. I don't think he's at the level of like Pereira or Izzy. So the wrestling would be the equalizer, and it'd be an interesting fight. I think he could take somebody down and hold them down for a whole round. But it's like, how good is his gas tank? Blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of questions, a lot of holes you got to fill in that. So.